Hello everyone, this is Nine, and this is going to be a patch analysis for the latest update of Artifact 2.0 beta that just hit us on the 21st of August. This patch unfortunately doesn't seem to have any rules, gameplay feature changes. Well, there are gameplay changes to the cards, but no actual rules or feature changes, unfortunately. The community at large does seem to think right now that there's going to be a big patch with features coming soon, and I do hope that that's going to be the case. This patch was needed because people were already feeling a bit awkward that there hasn't been much communication from Valve's side. It could just be that it's the holidays or so, or they are in fact working on something big and therefore not taking the time to process the smaller things. But because of the current situation with the number of players and how difficult it has been to find constructed matches in the client, people have been a bit worried on that front. But in any case, what we're going to be doing today is I will be showing you the cards, going through the cards. The My Game client is already updated, and we're going to go through this patch and do sort of a deep analysis as good as we can. I haven't read the whole of it. I've only seen a couple of points on Discord. So yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna read the patch notes and try to draw some conclusions from what we discover. Right, so matchmaking. The raw ELO rating of players in the beta spans a range of about 1,100 points, indicating a top player would win 95% of their hero draft games in the absence of any matchmaking. That is insane, 95% win rate. I know that there were some similar comments made before the release of 1.0 and actually after as well. If you watch the Garfield interview that I did, he seems to indicate that top players have a very high win rate, particularly compared to other card games, right? Because in Magic or in other card games, like a top player doesn't have 95% win rate. This is kind of insane. So yeah, they're adjusting the matchmaking parameters to increase the match quality, so this should be good overall, so that really good players are not matched with more casual players, and so that the match quality isn't affected by a huge disparity in skill. Over 80% of matches are being made within 10 seconds. That is good. So this patch tightens the matchmaking parameters further. So probably it will take a bit longer for us to find matches if you're still playing Hero Draft. Additionally, we've added unlock progress as a factor in matchmaking. Okay, so there probably will be trying to match the percentage of your collection that you've unlocked, trying to match that with your opponent. The matchmaker now favors matches between players within the same unlock tier, exactly, and accepts matches up to 1 tier away. The matchmaking numbers are all subject to tweaks on an ongoing basis as we evaluate both queue times and match quality. This is good as well, right? Because what Hero Draft was doing until now was basically pooling both of the players' collections into the draft, which means that if you were like a brand new player to the beta and you had a very small collection, if you were matched with a very high skill player with a large collection, it means like that one of your first drafts could actually be the whole hero pool, and that's kind of the whole point of what they were trying to avoid, was people being overwhelmed, I guess. Like the whole point of Hero Draft was trying to ease people into it, just draft the heroes, just draft a small pool, etc., and build on from there. But of course, as the beta progresses, most people will have unlocked all the cards by now, and so it's good that they make these adjustments, I feel like. But yeah, that's nothing huge, that's just small stuff that will most likely still be adjusted over time, so good to see that they're looking into that. But the meat of this post is going to basically be the gameplay. So I'm going to be oscillating here between the patch notes and the game to see if I can show you guys the cards as we talk about them. Gameplay. Keep the bolts, stop hitting yourself. Now causes enemies to battle themselves with +2 attack. Okay, so this adds +2 attack to the enemy hitting himself. Let me show you guys Keith. Keith basically, until now, was a decent hero, mostly against black. black heroes are the heroes that, for the most part, are able to kill themselves. Red heroes generally need some sort of buff. Blue heroes need a big buff because they have way more HP, and green heroes in general also don't kill themselves either. So this means that Keith was really like a kind of a meta or a niche pick against black. It was quite good against black because you wouldn't need them to put any items on the heroes or do any extra steps, or you wouldn't have to do any extra steps to use stop hitting yourself to kill things. But now with the +2 attack, it feels like at least a lot of red heroes, I don't know, Sven, Phantom Lancer would already kill himself, Bristleback. Just a bunch of heroes, Tiny, Tusk. A bunch of heroes with this +2 attack will actually die to themselves, so it makes Keith the Bold actually decently better against red. And probably other, you know, key scenarios like Meepo, etc. So there's no point going through the whole list, but you get the gist of it. This is a big buff to Keith, I think, with no drawback. So this is just a straight up buff to him. And I think it's needed. A lot of heroes like Keith, they feel like initially like, oh, this is interesting and cool. But then as you start playing, you realize, okay, actually, he's not that good. And they probably realize from the survey and from the pick rates and win rates, etc., that this card actually needed a bit of a push. So I'm happy that that they went for that. Next up is Chen. Chen gained the AGP Hardlow. Thanks for the follow, man. Chen gained the passive Divine Favor after combat. Heal allied creeps too. Chen gained the passive Divine Favor after combat. Heal all allied creeps too. Okay, another straight up buff. They've been buffing Chen constantly over the patches. I'm surprised to see that, actually, because I thought Chen was already in a good place. Let's have a look. This is something that I really like, is that they are starting to push double abilities on the heroes. This is really good. Hope you've had your daily intake of high quality H2O. It helps with cleaning of the colon. What the fuck, Pablo? What the fuck? Here's what I clean my colon with: coffee and water. Yes. Okay. So my colon is spotless, dude. Spotless. All right. So Chen gets, besides the Holy Persuasion that he already had and that had already been buffed with a +2/+2 to the Stolen Creep, now he heals allied creeps. This is really good, I think. This is really good. So heal allied creeps, I'm presuming that this means exactly after the combat phase. So it's not actually regeneration in the sense that the hero will die in combat if he doesn't have enough HP. But if he survives combat, he gets healed too. So a slight difference there, probably, I presume. I haven't used the card yet. But yeah, they're pushing Chen, man. They're pushing Chen. And I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. Buffs all around. Pretty good. Earthshaker's Echo Slam damage increased to double the number of enemy units. Okay. Okay, I like. Let's keep it in the buffs. I like this. All right, so Echo Slam, 6 mana. It dealt damage to each enemy equal to the number of enemies. So it was, for its cost, actually not so not so efficient. Again, it was good against black, squishy units and stuff. But against green, against red, it would very often not be effective. And mind you, like Echo Slam is like one of the biggest signature spells in Dota, right? This is like one of those things like, oh, huge Echo Slam, it's a fight-winning thing. And Artifact has just been kind of crappy. In 1.0, it was potentially good, but like very situational. Like it would only be good if there was a huge board facing you. Now, so for 6 mana, you can do potentially 10 damage. Which is good. Like if you compare this to Eclipse, for example, Eclipse needs 5 charges to deal 10 damage. And that's 10 damage spread around the board, right? This would be 10 damage to each unit if there's 5 units. So that's like 50 damage maximum for 6 mana. That's a lot, dude. That's a lot. And this is going to be able to kill most things, right? Most heroes have probably around 6 HP, probably is the average. So if you put a cloak on them, they're going to have 9, which means if there's 4 heroes, probably a hero with a cloak in a lot of situations will survive, but it still probably feels good enough. Like it's very rare that you can put items on all your heroes, so depending on the lane, this might be very effective. And Earthshaker was already like borderline playable. There were already decks using him. I think his passive ability is decent. The Aftershock and the Fisher ability, as I've experienced multiple times, is actually also quite decent. Stalls gives you free blockers. So I think this puts Earthshaker in a good place, really. This is like, it's a significant buff. So you go from 2 damage to 1 unit, to 4 damage to 2 units, to 6 damage to 3 units, 8 damage to 4 units, and 10 damage to 5 units. There's some sort of a sweet spot there in the middle. But probably it's already worth it. Probably the mana investment from 3 to 5 units is probably okay, depending on the situation, obviously. But I think the 4 and 5 unit hit is certainly good, So excited to see like what this means for these 3 heroes that we've gone through until now. I don't like, no specific interaction comes to mind. Can't really think of a specific way to break these 3 until now, but yeah, let's see. Let's go through the rest of the list. Rubik's Telekinesis now stuns the target and its neighbors after moving it. So that's 3 units. Up to 3 units. Cooldown has been increased to 3. Okay. Cooldown has been increased to 3 and no longer has quick cast. So all in all, this feels like a nerf. Rubik's ability was very strong and very difficult to play against, I feel like. It just dominated so many spaces. Like, you put Rubik on the mid lane, that means you have access to control in 5 slots, plus 2, plus 3 actually, right? You had range 3. So that means you were affecting almost the whole board from the mid lane with him, and his ability would give you quick cast, which means that you could swap an enemy into the lane where Rubik was, annihilate with him, and that was very, very strong. And actually kind of frustrating to play against because obviously you cannot interact. So while I don't think we had enough, or I had not seen enough evidence to think that like a nerf was warranted, this definitely feels like a nerf. On the other hand, now you stun, right? But making the cooldown 3 and removing the quick cast, I guess you can still move a hero and stun the hero and stun the neighbor hero. So in some scenarios you can still move him, stun, and annihilate without a response. It's not going to be possible always though, so maybe it's more fair in a sense. The cooldown increased to 3. I mean, since you remove the quick cast, because the quick cast is also like a kind of a significant part of the ability. Blue decks with Skywrath and Rubik were just like, they had initiative basically whenever. When they needed it, when they didn't need it. It was just very easy for them to keep initiative. So I'm kind of sad that they are nerfing him already, because I feel like we hadn't seen the power of Rubik yet. Surely in Constructed we haven't seen the power of anything quite yet, because there hasn't been enough tournaments. But yeah, it's interesting to see that they feel like this was too strong. So yeah, that's the first nerf on the list. Gemui the Wise's Wisdom of the Elders cooldown reduced to 2. That was the one with the 4, right? Using the ability no longer reduces his cooldown. Okay. Okay. So I guess they understood that most people were using Gemui's cards on other heroes and not on himself. Gemui the Wise's Runic Instigation changed to increase all cooldowns on an enemy. Oh, so now it's an offensive card. Increase all cooldowns on an enemy unit by 2. Or decrease all cooldowns on a friendly unit by 2. Okay, now, so this is... It's a completely different card. This is difficult to assess. Let's have a look at Gemui. Because obviously Runic Instigation was really good with... It would reduce the cooldown completely. So it was very good with very high cooldown abilities. Including his own, because his own would reduce the cooldown. So they took away the no longer reduces the cooldown part of it. Now we just draw a card. Drawing a card every 2 turns is good, man. It's like Lich. Lich feels really good. Obviously, Lich gives you mana on top of it. So it's basically a Lich ability, but it's not for free. But it's blue. And I think blue is the color that, for the most part, wants to draw the most cards. So I think this is good for him. I think overall this is good. This feels like a buff. Because now his ability is good without you having to spend cards on it. And his card can now be used offensively. So increase all cooldowns on an enemy unit by 2. That means items as well. So you can block a Nyx, for example. The Nyx comes down, you have initiative, you block the Nyx for another 2 rounds. And then you can potentially set up to block him again. Or decrease all cooldowns on a friendly unit by 2. So this feels like this might have some sort of like potential for abuse. Increase all cooldowns or decrease all cooldowns. Okay, decrease all cooldowns. Does that mean like that it refreshes something like a lean? I don't think so, right? 1 round cooldown. So if you activate Alina and then you use Runic Instigation, maybe you can activate Lina twice? It doesn't work with Luna for sure. Yeah, I'm wondering how this works with the passives like Multicast and Lina. But it might be interesting. I like the fact that they're giving the card... I really like that they're giving the card flexibility to be offensive and not just be something that you can use on yourself. So now your opponent has actually to think like, okay, this card is not like solo mode, I can just completely ignore it. No, like it affects the other side of the word as well. I like that, and I feel like overall this is going to be a buff to Gemui. People were excited to see Gemui. It was fun to play with him sometimes in Hero Draft, but for the most part he wasn't really going to be used much. And I've never seen anyone use him in Constructed, so maybe now there's some sort of a interaction. Also with the item things, because if it decreases all cooldowns, that will decrease item cooldowns. Refresher Orb comes to mind. That's a 2 cooldown. Refresh all cooldowns in an equipped hero, draw a card, restore 3 mana. So if you use Gemui's card on a Refresher Orbed hero, you actually net 1 mana, and you're not down a card. If you put a Refresher Orb on Gemui, okay, you got a Gemui, you draw a card, you drop a Refresher Orb, you've spent 1 mana here, you activate it, you're up 2 mana. You draw a card again. You draw a card again. So you've drawn once from the Wisdom of the Elders and 1 from the Refresher Orb, and you draw a second one from Wisdom of the Elders, and then you can use Runic Instigation on Gemui. By now you're down 1 mana, not bad. And that will let you activate everything again. So you draw another card from Wisdom of the Elders and another card from the Refresher Orb. And once you use the Refresher Orb, you can draw another card from Gemui the Wise. What? You can draw 6 cards? How much mana was that? So everything costs 1 mana to activate, that's 6, and you gain 3 back from the Refresh Orb, which you activated twice. So basically, all of these 6 card draws were free. So you spent 2 mana to draw 6 cards. That seems very strong. That seems very strong. Okay, so there's ideas. I like it. I like it. The main important thing is that cards make you think about other cards and interactions and stuff, so I like this. I like these 2 lines. Moving on, Radiance changed to before your turn, deal 1 piercing damage to each enemy. Before your turn. I don't know what that means. So you drop a Radiance before your turn. What's the difference between before your turn and at round start or whatever it was called? Before your turn, deal 1 piercing damage to each enemy. Didn't it deal 2 damage? I gotta look this up real quick. Why would they nerf Radiance? Here, let me... I'm assuming that Kali has not updated this thing. Round start, deal 2 piercing damage to enemy units. Oh, okay, wait, I think it means once you get back initiative. Someone was suggesting this on the Discord, that every time, like Scheme, every time someone would pass you back the turn, that it would deal a damage. Oh yeah, I had Red Carrick, I got there, I think. So before your turn, deal 1 piercing damage to each enemy. Okay. I like that. If I'm understanding how this works, I like it. Which means that normally by the time you get to 30 gold and get a Radiance, generally it's going to be round 6 plus probably. Which means you're going to have 8, 9 mana probably. It's possible to get it earlier, but generally, let's say generally, if you get to the round of 8, 9 mana and you drop this, there's going to be a very good chance that you're going to deal a lot of damage with this. And obviously there's still the plus 10 damage, which is not to ignore. So this feels much better. Also it's piercing damage, which is great. All in all, I still feel like there's something missing on Radiance. And I'm kind of surprised that they left it, that they reduced the damage to 1. Because this is a 30 gold item. And just 1 piercing damage to each enemy. Like if a vanilla Ursa or a vanilla Treant Protector needs to pass you the initiative 8 times before it dies, I think they would have done good to leave this at 2. It probably still feels too weak to me, but I like it. I like it. This card was not being used, and they gotta change shit around, man. So I think it's a step in a good direction. Throwdown and Spriggan Mischief changed to give the balanced items +1 lock. Yeah, this is good. So I don't know if you guys have played with these cards, but particularly the green one, the Mischief. Spriggan Mischief would bounce all the enemy heroes and then drop cursed items on the enemy. It was always really, really annoying that this card would often be dead because you would play this and then what? your opponent would just drop them back, especially if they had career charges. So the fact that now you're bouncing items and locking them is good. Plus, this becomes now a counterplay card to things like Mjolnir, things like Refresher Orb or whatever. Big game items where you need to pass the initiative back before you do something, which is basically all the items. But so now this card has a bit more playability. I'm still not sure that it's good enough, but I think once more it's a step in the correct direction. Throwdown I had in a couple of decks. Throwdown I think was playable. Red has the capability of buffing heroes in other ways besides like besides items, right? So if you can buff with enchantments, with auras, whatever, with duel, etc., your heroes are very likely to be able to kill the enemies without having any items, and this becomes a duel with an upside potentially. If you design your deck correctly, this could be an upside where in a lot of situations you want to redeploy your items elsewhere. So heroes like Axe or whatever, maybe you drop a cloak, maybe you drop something on him, maybe you drop a blink, and you actually need to replace that and you don't have another item to bounce it with. Throwdown becomes a duel with a potential upside, so I like it. I've tried to play the card. I thought it wasn't good enough in my Mjolnir deck, but we'll see. We'll see. SS is the new meta. Oh man, I'm gonna get there, because my favorite deck already had Storm, so I'm I'm super hyped. Well, we'll do a game with my deck afterwards to see just how broken he is. Also, there's some combos from what I've already seen. All right, but we'll get there. Sniper's headshot changed to cross lane. Ah, the headshot. Okay, the headshot is the ability. Changed to cross lane. Wow. Okay, targeting with a range 5. Nice. Nice. Another straight up buff. So this patch, like, it's just buffs all around, man. It's only been a couple of nerfs until now. What, Rubik was the only nerf? Gemui, people could argue, I guess, but it feels like a buff to me. Sniper headshot deals 4 damage to another unit within range 5 cross lane. Real good. Real good. So Sniper now becomes a hero that you want to deploy as close as possible to mid. Sort of like Rubik and other heroes with the range 5 thingy. I would like them to at some point start adding kind of different ranges. I feel like all the abilities in the game have either range 3 or range 5. But range 5 feels fine. Basically, range 5 means that wherever he is in the lane, he's going to be able to hit a side lane. And that's good. So Sniper becomes someone that you really want to deploy in the mid lane. He might actually become playable with this. There's not a lot of... well, that's... I was going to say, there's not a lot of like round 3 good heroes to deploy, but unfortunately Sniper is in Nyx's color, and Nyx is the best slot 3 hero in the game. so unfortunate for Sniper, but I think at least in draft it makes him way better. Way better. There was a lot of games where headshot you would hold on to it because you didn't have a target in the lane, so this feels good. Something else for Sniper is Sniper's Assassinate gains the ability, costs 1 less for each time you've passed this round. Sniper's Assassinate gains the ability, costs 1 less for each time you have passed this round. So it's like Scheme, right? Okay. Any unit at the starting slot, the ending slot, and all slots in between. Huh? Oh, this is a mistake. Alright, I'm gonna submit Snipers text keyword past refers. I'm sure if I should drop this as bug, but I think I will. Anyway, so costs 1 less for each time you've passed. So it means passing without doing anything, right? So it's like oh, yo Rashid, what's up, man? No patch, but unfortunately no gameplay, like no actual game modes or no new features, but there's a lot of changes, so I'm just going through it, making a quick YouTube video. Alright, yeah, so this is a straight up buff. Again, this card becomes much better in the late game, it feels like. And one of the problems is that Assassinate was often something that you wanted to play like straight up at the beginning of the round. So I'm not sure how often you're going to be wanting to pass to just like reduce the cost of Assassinate, because most of the time what you really wanted to do was just prevent a hero from playing a color in a lane. But it is also possible that if you're trying to kill like a Thunderhide Alpha or Thunderhide whatever, Thunderhide pack, that you may want to consider doing other things or passing. It's really dependent on the situation, and it's going to be risky. It's not clear to me from the description if passing by playing a spell counts as well, but I would assume not, because that probably would be too strong, right? And otherwise, it would be worded some other way, I feel like. But I have also to say, this is alpha, whatever, but I don't think Valve is doing a good job with the naming and description of the cards. I feel like they're trying to make stuff sound casual, but by making it sound casual, it raises a bunch of questions. So I don't know why not use the more technical and boring lingo. I guess in a way this makes or forces people to test the cards or look for an answer, and that kind of could be a pro. Like, I guess if reading the text isn't clear and makes me want to play a game with a card to see, maybe that's not bad. It's weird in any case. It feels like to me. All right, so that's Sniper. Bloodseeker's thirst no longer decreases when killing enemy rounds this round. Bloodseeker's thirst no longer decreases when killing enemy heroes this round. What? I know there was a bug where if you killed an enemy, you would see the numbers go up. I wonder if that's it. Wait, was it buffing when the hero was dying? I don't think it was. I had a deck with Bloodseeker a while back and I stopped playing him, so I'm not sure if that's something that changed in the meantime, but I was not aware that killing an enemy hero would increase thirst. I thought it didn't. If it did, that sounds pretty strong, yeah. So good that they corrected that. So Bloodseeker has power equal to the highest missing health from an enemy hero in any lane, does not decrease if the hero dies and it's cross lane. Okay. So pretty straightforward, doesn't change any interactions really. And this is gonna be like the big one. I saw people on my Discord talking about this and I'm kind of excited because my favorite deck plays Storm, so. Storm Spirit's static remnant deals 1 piercing damage on death and slays itself after combat. That's a nerf, right? I think it dealt more damage than that. Wasn't it 2? I think it was 2 damage. I can't remember if it was piercing though, so piercing damage is worth more than normal damage. Although it really depends how many times the ability procs. If it's just once, piercing is worth more. If it's multiple times, then not. Storm Spirit's Ball Lightning is now 1 mana. So buff, moves range 5, nerf, repeatable, quick cast. Alright, so when we had the discussion for hero surveys and stuff in the podcast, I kind of complained that I wish that Storm Spirit could move around like it does in Dota. And this feels exactly like that. It feels exactly like this is gonna be hella fun to play, man. This is gonna be hella fun. 1 mana, move, range 5, but you can repeat and quick cast. So if you wanna jump 2 lanes, you're gonna have to spend 2 mana, which was the original cost anyway. There's quick cast, so your opponent can't prevent you, and you're gonna leave a static remnant behind. So that's really cool. If you have a ton of mana, you can move like mid, left, mid, right, mid, whatever. You just need to have empty slots, right? So I guess the number of empty slots is the limitation on this now, and the mana. This is really exciting, man. This is really exciting. And for my Mjolnir deck, which is my favorite deck, this is a huge buff. Storm Spirit regains the Overload passive. Storm Spirit regains. It's the ability from 1.0. Storm Spirit has +1 attack per charge. After you play a spell or enchantment in any lane, add a charge until Storm Spirit attacks in a battle. Yeah, I asked for this, dude. Man. Now this hero is gonna feel like Dota, man. This hero is gonna feel like his own persona. This is really good, man. I don't know if the data says that black is bad, but I keep getting the feeling that Valve just keeps buffing black. Fair enough, they were buffing blue before, so probably they're still just adjusting overall thing, but this, oh man, this feels great. This really makes me want to go play Storm Spirit right now. You're just going to be zip-zapping, your opponent can't do anything. You're going to be buffing this dude. And something that Underscore was mentioning in my Discord as well is, let's put the card up. All right, so you've got, again, double ability, man. This is the future, dude. Valve has got to wake up. Most heroes should have 2 abilities. Anyway, so Overload, +1 charge after you play a spell or enchantment from any lane. Add a charge until Storm Spirit attacks in battle. Notice it doesn't have to be black, and it's from any lane. Oh, amazing. Until Storm Spirit attacks in a battle. So if you gank, he's gonna reset, but still. Whenever Storm Spirit moves from a slot, summon a static remnant. So pretty much the same. This is wrong. Because it says static remnant deals 1 piercing damage on death and slays itself after combat. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly report another bug. All right, so this hero is gonna be sick, man. Like, I have to say the black heroes are feeling so much more fun than the other heroes to me. Like Nyx, Storm, Bounty. So something that Underscore was mentioning is that obviously now, let's have a look at what the card was called. I think it costs 6, the one that refreshes Essence Font. Whenever you play a card or activate an ability in this lane, restore 1 mana. Unfortunately, this is an enchant caster, so you can't enchant this on the Storm Spirit himself. But this opens the door for an infinite Storm blue combo. Because if you every time you play Storm's card, if you just have a way to refresh 1 mana, you're going to be able to infinitely repeat the card. And by infinitely repeating the card, you are charging him infinitely, which means you're going to be able to give him infinite power. Okay, this is amazing, man. This is amazing. Valve removed all the infinite combo things, unit things, all the limits. They put limits on 2.0, so everything feels like you're playing like in a fucking baby crib, right? Card games are, in my opinion, made to supposedly feel like sandbox, right? You can do whatever you want within the abilities that the cards give you. And to be able to see like these exciting possibilities of making some really big numbers or something, I think is great. Is it gonna be spacebar simulator for the opponent? Yes. But so what? Like, as long as it's not every single game or completely busted or happening too often, it's not a problem. Plus they've added the ability to now like press F4 and you don't have to spacebar, you just pass the turn automatically. So a lot of potential with Storm Spirit, and I think so far probably one of the biggest buffs in the patch. From what I've heard and read, people say this is probably the single biggest buff, and mind you, in my opinion, this is not a hero that needed a strong buff to begin with. So I'm just very excited to play with this. I'm just very excited. Really, really good. Ursa's Overpower now deals 2 damage twice, rather than 1 damage thrice. Is this a buff or is it... okay. So you deal 1 damage, and then the second instance would deal... let me put Ursa up for you guys. Alright, so you would deal 1 damage, proc the armor, deal 1 damage again, which would be 2, proc the armor again, deal 3. Deal 2, excuse me. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 will deal 5 damage. And take 3 armor, which was like a viscous nasal goo. So pretty strong considering the current stats of heroes in Artifact. Now you deal 2 damage, and then you proc the armor once, and then you deal another 2, which obviously has +1. So you can still one-shot 5 HP heroes round 1. That doesn't change. What changes is the fact that you only minus armor twice, which for future turns probably is relevant. So this is a nerf to Ursa. Unless I'm missing some angle, this feels like a nerf, which, considering the fact that Mono Red was doing quite well in the small tournaments we held, and those decks were playing Ursa, it might speak for the fact that Ursa is like, or was like, one of the top heroes. So again, I'm always kind of sad to see nerfs hit, especially when they're very tiny nerfs to something that didn't feel broken. But again, Valve is very data driven, so I'm sure they've seen that Ursa is just winning left and right. And it is true that people were picking her in draft very highly, so that might be the reason. Farvan the Dreamer's pack leader renamed the strength in numbers. Okay. That's just the ability name, right? I don't know what this card is called. Yeah, strength in numbers. Exactly same thing. Nothing to see here, let's move along. Lycan's Feral Impulse no longer affects heroes. What? Oh, there's a second ability. Lycan gains the passive Pack Leadership. Pack Leadership has charges equal to the combined attack of creeps in this lane. If Pack Leadership has 15 or more... If Pack Leadership has 15 or more charges, Lycan has +3 attack, and allied creeps within range 2 have +1 attack. Okay, that's a big one. Okay, so Feral Impulse doesn't affect heroes. Lycan's allies in this lane without range 2 have +2 attack. I think they should write that it doesn't... Lycan Feral Impulse text should read. Okay, just for clarity's sake. Okay, so it's basically the same, but it doesn't affect heroes. Fine. Pack Leadership has charges equal to the combined attack of creeps in this lane. If Pack Leadership has 15 or more charges, Lycan has +3 attack, so it becomes a 6/6. And allied creeps within range 2 have another +1. Now let's see. If Lycan comes in and has 2... Let's say the lane is full of creeps. There's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. So not enough to trigger Pack Leadership. 15 feels like a big ask. because this is just creeps. And I read on Reddit that someone went to test this and it was just your own creeps and does not count the opponent's creeps. So it has to be your own creeps. If you drop a Savage Wolf, he comes in with 4 because you're playing him on the Lycan lane. He gains 2 per turn, so 6. Problem is that Lycan doesn't protect creeps, so it feels like this is gonna require a lot of work. And once you get there, I'm not sure, man. Is the payoff that good? You have a lane full of creeps. You reach 15 attack. Do you really need +3 on Lycan and +1 on whatever? If this would be like a draw ability where it would affect like the whole board, the whole 3 lanes, the whole board, then maybe it would be good because you would drop Lycan on a lane that your opponent abandoned or that you already destroyed or something like that. This doesn't feel good enough to me. I could be wrong, but like, why are you gonna go to 15? Why are you going to invest into going up to 15 to then get potentially 2, 4, 7 to get a 50% boost? It feels like overcommittal, and that's often the problem with green, is like green tends to make you overcommit, and then you get blown up by annihilation or whatever. Okay. Interesting, but I'm not sold on it. Tidehunter's Anchor Smash now attacks for 1 battle damage to its targets. Tidehunter's Anchor Smash now attacks for 1 battle damage to its targets. This makes the ability more consistent when Tidehunter is stunned or disarmed, where before it could deal damage to its adjacent enemies but not the tower. Now neither will happen. What? I did not understand anything I just read. When you play a non-item card, Tidehunter attacks its adjacent enemies for 1 battle damage and gives them minus attack. Is this text updated? Tidehunter's Anchor Smash now attacks for 1 battle damage to its targets. Now attacks. Yeah, that's what it was doing already before. It reads, okay, maybe this is the new text. Tidehunter attacks its adjacent enemies for battle damage. Okay, so this feels like it's just, if I understand this correctly, this is just text clarification where if Tidehunter was stunned, the ability read that it would deal damage instead of like attacking. Oh. Does this now trigger Mjolnir? Attack? It attacks the enemies? Oh. Valve, what have you done, dude? Oh man, okay. My Mjolnir deck probably has to go back to red-black now. Let me just go back to Caldy's page because I want to see real quick if what the old text was. This is the deck viewer. By the way, if you guys don't know Cauliflower's artifact page, it's pretty cool. The first time you play a non-item card from Tidehunter's lane, deal 1 damage to its adjacent enemies. Okay, so now he attacks them and deals battle damage. Oh, he triggers Mjolnir. Oh, yes. Oh, Valve, you don't even know the error of your ways. Ah, yes, this is amazing. Okay, moving on. I think I'm way more excited than everyone else about that. Ubermagi's Ignite cost reduced to 2 mana. Okay, round start, deal 1 damage to the 2 closest enemies. Okay. So easier to multicast, but way smaller effect, and it's not piercing. And it's not piercing. The two closest enemies. So if you have like 3 enemies in front of you, are they adding RNG back into the game? So I presume if there's 3 enemies, you're gonna damage the one in front and then 50-50 the other ones? Or it's just like a 30% times 2 to hit. Oh, could it hit the same hero twice? This feels like a nerf. Okay, you multicast way more consistently, but the effect is much less consistent. Why does a blue deck want this now? Because the blue deck wanted like the effect of hitting everything and being able to place the blue hero in a safe spot. Now you're going to have to place the blue hero with Ignite in front of the enemies. Feels like a nerf. I don't see much potential there to do anything real broken or so. But, I mean, there's always a creep and a hero, right? So there's always 2 units. Ignite, before it was hitting them, those 2 units plus whatever else was there. So if there's more units, it's worse. If there's less units, it doesn't really matter because there's almost always going to be a second unit there. It feels awkward, man. Pugna changed to a black hero and no longer has Nether Blasts. Pugna should have been a black hero. Or... okay, let's keep it. Pugna gains a passive Nether Ward. Whenever your opponent plays a non-item card from this lane, deal 1 piercing damage to their tower and burn 1 of their mana when round cooldown. Nether Ward, tower enchantment removed. Okay, the red aggro decks were playing Nether Ward, so I think Nether Ward was pretty good. Especially not being a signature card, because you could play it without playing Pugna. The whole point was that people didn't want to play Pugna. Oh yeah, I have to look for him in black now. Oh, he's gonna look sick with the black frame. Ah, look at that. The art fits so good, man. The art, it looks so cool in black. It's really amazing how the art makes him green, and it feels like, it still feels like a black hero with a bit of a red background, so this card would look amazing with green, red, and black frames. Looks really pretty. So let's talk about Pugna's passive. Pugna's passive was obviously something that couldn't be in black. Again, this is something we talked about in the podcast. I felt like Pugna should have been a mana burning hero from the get-go, because that's what he supposedly was going to do in 1.0 and then never did because his card was just bad in 1.0. But Nether Wards, the way that they've done the card in 2.0, is actually quite good. Not because of the way they designed the card, but because the way that they changed the game rules, right? Mana is way more relevant now because there's just way less. So having this as a passive makes Pugna the new Tyler State Sensor, basically. And now that Pugna is in the same color as Anti-Mage and Mana Break and Tyler Estate cards, finally we can try to do a decent mana burn deck. I had a mana burn deck. Maybe I'll after the patch analysis I can play that. Maybe it's a legit strategy now. The main problem still being that you don't deny mana for the most part, you just burn after your opponent spends it. So if it's 6 mana and your opponent wants to play a 6 mana spell, he still can do it. But in the later parts of the game, this probably becomes quite annoying, especially if Pugna is well deployed. So overall, I think this is good, because the old Pugna wasn't being played, and the Nether Ward, which is obviously a signature card where it should have been always, the Nether Ward was being played without him, so... And now I don't mind this card as much, because his ability is better. I still feel like they should push a lot of heroes to have a second ability. But it's probably good to take it slow with mana denial cards, because mana denial cards tend to be something that people complain and people dislike a lot. So it's probably to take it easy with these guys. But I absolutely love the new art, the way it looks. Absolutely love it. Hordestrider's active moves and then attacks its new combat target for 2 battle damage. Whoa, what? So he can attack the tower? This creep's pretty sick, so... If you don't know Hordestrider, he's a 4-mana 3/2 that deals +2 damage when attacking a tower, and every turn for 1 mana you can move him to an empty slot. And now he attacks his combat damage for 2 battle damage, so it's like a small Nyx. I mean, you can kill a hero with 5 HP. This is really good. You move him... Oh, you move him to an empty slot. If it's in front of the tower, he's going to deal 7 damage. I mean, I don't have the impression that black was lacking tower damage. This is really good. I mean, the only other way to make this guy broken would be to add pillage to him. This is very strong, I think. I like it. I mean, why not? Becomes a nice 5-mana play. Drop him, activate. Meepo's slain by... Okay, let me change the screen. Meepo's slain by United We Fall. Only grant bounty for one of the Meepos, rather than all of them. So they... Oh, okay. So it's only if you drop the Meepo on top of another Meepo? Is that it? So United We Fall still happens. If this Meepo dies, your Meepos die in every lane. That still exists. Meepo's slain by United We Fall. That's his card. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, wait, what? Meepo's slain by United We Fall, which is the continuous effect. Only grant bounty for one of the Meepos rather than all of them. Okay, so you kill Meepo. And then regardless of how many Meepos die due to the continuous effect, you are gonna only get +5 gold. So it's like a bounty hunter kill then. It's 5 for the original plus... or 5 original or whatever copy you kill, +5 for all the other ones together. Okay. Meepo is another hero that they keep pushing every patch. It's like, feels a little bit like Chen. At some point this shit's just gonna be broken, because they've been making it better and better and better and better. They really want people to play Meepo, which is fine. Nothing against it. 10 gold is still like respectable. Yeah, Meepo imperfect, yeah. Meepo was already okay, but again, I just wish that we had more constructed data, because it still feels like we're doing changes to the game based on hero draft, and I wish that we could be pushing constructed a bit more and adjusting from there. They are really pushing the game for hero draft, but I mean, Buffs, man, like this patch has been a dream, honestly. Like this is what I've been complaining about for months on end. Buff stuff, make stuff stronger, make stuff exciting to play, make stuff interact more, make players excited to try something, not just like press a button and destroy an improvement or something. Like this is an exciting hero, man. And the changes are keep making him better and better. At some point, people are gonna try him and are going to win with him and are gonna realize this hero has a place. And that's great. And that's great. Blink scroll cannot target rooted heroes. Okay, life quality change. And we're slowly coming to the end of this. Card text changes. Cards that used to say that they deal battle damage now say that they attack for battle damage to emphasize the damage type. Okay. Nyx Assassin text no longer says sneak. So I want to just check something really quick. Does anti-mage attack for damage? No. Because in my Mjolnir deck, I tried anti-mage, assuming that the battle damage would trigger Mjolnir, which it didn't. Move up to range 5, deal 1 battle damage to the unit, now blocking anti-mage. So now this change of the wording makes it easier to understand which cards will trigger Mjolnir, because it says attack, and Mjolnir specifically reads attack damage. So Tidehunter is going to be a great, or like a decent Mjolnir holder. Can maybe even make a mono red deck with it, with duels and Throwdown doesn't work, but duels. We United We Fall text clarification. We just looked at that. Ventriloquy updated to attack for 1 damage wording, which it was already doing. I'm not going to look at Ventriloquy. Remote detonation text change to deal 5 damage to each unopposed enemy. So it's the same effect, right? I think he used to say unblocked or something. Glossary, added entry for unopposed. Okay. Which is the same thing as unblocked. Bug fixes. An enemy Darkseer can no longer kill units moving into Storm Spirit's old position by using Storm Spirit's static remnant summon. What? An enemy Darkseer can no longer kill units moving into Storm Spirit's old position by using Storm Spirit's static remnant summon. Okay. That's a cool interaction. I never saw that. So you would use the Darkseer vacuum, the units would move, Storm Spirit would leave a remnant, and the remnant would kill stuff. Okay. Anchor Smash now plays an animation when it triggers. Cool. Alright. So, all in all, very good patch, I feel like. I think with the card changes, Valve is doing a good job and they're moving in a good direction. I still have some concerns when it comes to specifically lack of features, focusing too much on hero draft, and just for the most part, there's been a certain lack of communication. I presume that they're just putting their heads down and getting to work, but it has been like a lot of time since they first started doing Moon Days posts, which by the way they stopped doing. So it would be cool to like see more Moon Days posts, or at least update the roadmap to let us players know exactly what's going on, because there's been a lot of talk of like the player numbers keep dropping, there's no one in the constructed room to play, it's difficult to find constructed games, hero draft gets a bit tiring after you know, grind to wherever you want to grind or finish your collection. So yeah, Valve, please like update the roadmap, give us a little bit more feedback. I love all the buffs. I think we're doing a good job on making all the heroes look more exciting, and there's certainly 2 or 3 that I really want to try now that I've read the patch notes. Yeah, I mean, black feels like it's moving. I mean, I felt already like black was a very good color, but apparently they feel like it needs to be more buffed. Yeah, Yeah, would also like to just make a final note to say it would be good to know if Valve is still considering any types of rules change, because it feels like they're focusing a lot on the card texts and the card minutia, the card details, to a point where I kind of get the impression it's not really worth discussing game mechanics much anymore. So it would be good to know, like, at some point if they feel like, you know, we're beyond that or something. But yeah, still early stages. The game needs a lot of work. Hopefully Valve is doing that work, and hopefully it won't it won't last too long. We'll see. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, and drop a follow and a sub, and yeah, see you guys in the long haul.